Welcome, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights. Today is Valentine's Day. Before I get rolling and tell you about my awesome true love, Diane, I want to thank my sponsors, which is Topps Panini, Upper Deck, Heritage Auctions, Hug of the Scott Auctions, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Burbank Sports Cards, ComC.com, and Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication. I could make a case that I loved Beckett Publications back in the day, but my wife is my enduring true love, and even though today is Valentine's Day, I can celebrate her, but she doesn't like it if I lay it on too thick. So I'm not going to spend 15 minutes extolling her virtues, although I could go that and longer. She's awesome. But she wouldn't like that, but I just want to say she is in first place, and there is no second place. It's till death do us part, which I'm trying to extend that as long as I can, that we can have a great marriage for as long as we are alive. And I'm a collector until death as well. I'm going to be faithful in that realm as well. I don't know that I'll always be doing a podcast, but I will always, I think, enjoy the hobby. It's been a lifelong adventure, and it's been great. You know, when I go to a card show, I'm there. And I'm totally there, and Diane doesn't normally go with me, but if she needs me for a family event, which she will at the next show, I will be there because family and wife comes first. So I have no problem with that, but she also understands that I love the hobby, with love being loving not another person, but another a thing. So I was thinking about it, titling this episode Aspects of Love, and I realized that is taken. It was a Broadway musical by Andrew Lloyd Webber that I saw. The famous song is Love Changes Everything, which is true, and it was great music, but a very convoluted story. But I was just thinking aspects of love in the hobby today, and how can we look at things, kind of the love story of people really enjoying their collecting. You know, when you get married, two become one, but that doesn't mean that one of them, that for me, that I was half or I was incomplete. I am a whole person before, during, and after, but the two become one in a mysterious way that is pretty exciting, and it's great. So I go to the show. I'm a married man at the show, even if my wife is not there. That's my identity. But I'm there by myself. But I might have a date with my wife in the evening. So I'm always married, even though my wife might not be with me at certain things. I'm always a hobbyist, even though I might not always be dealing with my cards. So minding my own business this morning, watching The Irrational, which is a TV show on the treadmill. So I'm on the treadmill and I watch TV shows that I think are interesting. And so they're 45-minute episodes, and that's 45 minutes on the treadmill. So this is kind of a whodunit a little bit with the lead in the show is a human behavioral psychologist who helps the FBI solve crimes. So you learn something about psychology and then the plot, the mystery, and you try to figure it out. And the smart PhD generally stays one step ahead of the criminals by figuring out some psychological theory. And today's, again, on the treadmill, it's already been on network TV, involved what he called the completion effect, that he tricked the criminal into feeling the compulsion, even that the closer you get to completion, the more invested you are, the more intensity you have about finishing, the more you're willing to pay if it's a price, and that desire that you have to complete it. You know, when you're the most formal engagements, when you're engaged to be married, most of them proceed to marriage. The people don't want to quit; they want to complete. And the closer you get, the more excited you are, and the more you're willing to do that. So engagement is, and being engaged is a concept in our culture. Social media engagement, it means we care. So hopefully you are fully engaged in your marriage if you're married, and hopefully you're fully engaged in the hobby if you are a hobbyist, which I assume you are when you're listening to this podcast. Sports Card Insights. My Valentine experience when I was a little kid was kind of interesting. I I've told you I went to a different school in the fourth grade, different school in the fifth grade, actually two schools in the fifth grade, different school in the sixth grade, different school in the seventh grade, different school in the eighth grade. Those earlier years are more Valentine's oriented for passing out Valentines around the room in the school. And so that was fun, especially in the younger years. But a lot of that I think of as kind of puppy love, or pre-adult, young love where you don't really even know what you don't know, versus the mature love between consenting adults. And I thought, well, is that the same as collecting modern cards versus vintage cards? That modern is more temporary and vintage is more permanent, more history versus the fresh newness of and things changing so fast, being shallow versus being deep, online dating, digital dating versus in real life or in-person dating, breaking versus going to card shows, really connecting with people as opposed to kind of collecting with a concept. And is flipping like finding a home for your kids or your loved ones, your loved cards as they move out or graduate or become independent or join the working world. Those are just some inappropriate and poor analogies, but many of the people listening to this love cards, and it manifests in ways generally that are very positive. As I've said, if there's addiction, which is generally not good, love is good, but love is a two-way street. So what happened a week and a half ago with Luka? What that did for my wife and for me and for many others that I've talked to, because we live in Dallas, it's exposed who or what you really loved. Did you love Luka, or did you love the Mavs? Or did you love the NBA? Actually, I love the NBA, I love Luka, and I love the Mavs. But do I have to choose? Well, I'm going to have to re-up for my season tickets next month. And I will. I'm not going to get rid of my season tickets, but my awesome wife is not as interested as she was before. Luka was a big part of the Mavs' excitement. Are we going to watch Laker games on TV so we can see Luka? I think she's interested in that, and I am too. But I am still going to be a Mavs fan, and I'm probably going to. I actually don't want Luka to mess up. I don't feel that. I'd like Luka to be successful, but I want the Mavs to win some championships. So it's, for example, I love the NBA, I love the Mavs, I love Luka. I could say I love women, but really I love woman. I love Diane. So the concept of women is embodied in my choice, my chosen, my true love. So if you love everything, if you say you love everything, do you really love anything? You can't love all cards equally, and so there is a hierarchy there, and it's not wrong that you love some more than others when they're cards. And frankly, the opposite of love is not hate; it's apathy. And so for many people, I don't know that they hate cards, but they just don't care. There's a certain level. Maybe there's a threshold of any card under $1 or under a quarter or something like that. It's just, you just don't care. You wouldn't even pick it up if it was sitting there. But just like Luka, the hate comes when you have love betrayed. And so it's a very powerful emotion. If you get mistreated in a deal in the hobby, you're going to be really upset. If a friend let you down, divorce is painful. Divorce of friends is painful. But Luka we can't say it was his no-fault divorce or something, but he was traded. It was not his. Whether he had warnings or not, I don't know. But the betrayal is the powerful thing. And Luka probably feels betrayed. But when you have inanimate objects, it's hard to talk about loving an inanimate object or even a celebrity, because they really can't love you back. We can love on Luka or the Mavs, but they can't love us back. We can't have a two-way street there. I'm reminded that when I'm thinking analytically about love and in the aspect of the hobby, that there's the love that we have. There's lots of collectors that want to share who their favorite players are, and it's like levels of love. It's like ranking, and that sounds exactly like what we tried to encapsulate looking at the empirical data of what cards were selling for in our price guides, that turned out that there were kind of levels of love that the fans would have for a particular player, based on their team, based on their sport, based on the year they were having, all those kind of things. And that was fun to do. I've spoken, I think, with having done more than 1,000 podcasts. I know at one point I talked about the 5 love languages, and they apply to my lovely wife or your spouse, somebody you love, and they apply to the hobby. One is quality time. If I don't have quality time with Diane, do I really love her? Well, I do. I also spend quality time with the hobby. Words of affirmation. If your wife would think it's strange if you didn't say nice things about her, and I always do, and they're heartfelt and they're true. But I do the same thing with a hobby. I'm going to express words of affirmation when I'm talking to other people that may or may not be collectors. I'm going to talk it up. I'm going to be very positive tone about what I think is the greatest hobby of all time. And then the other third love language, they're actually not in order, is gifts, which really gifts is kind of like the tangible monetary side. If I never buy a gift for Diane, then she said, does he really love me? If I never spend money on cards, do I really love the hobby? The next one was acts of service, which could be random acts of kindness, but frequently they're not random at all. If I love my wife, which I do, I'm going to do nice things for her. If I love the hobby, which I do, I am going to serve the hobby, which I try to do. The podcast is a free podcast. I'm not charging for it. When I did the magazines, we charged for them, but then we had payroll and we charged as little as we could to get it in the hands of people so that they could have a nice collectible as well as something that was useful for them. And then finally, physical touch, which, if you never hug your wife, that's not a good thing. I love to hug my wife. Now, can I hug the hobby? Well, it's not about hugging, but the touch aspect is really important. My cards, I can pick them up. That's why I think NFTs had trouble catching on, because there's no sense of touch there. I don't want to. Maybe I'm just old school. I want to see the cards, feel the cards, touch the cards, pack them up, sort them, rearrange them, do things like that. I don't want to have a no-touch marriage or a no-touch relationship or a no-touch hobby. So, lastly, I was thinking about what John Newman has said, is that the National Sports Collectors Convention is the Super Bowl of the hobby. And I realized that I love sports cards more than I love the sport. Even to say that I would rather go to the National than go to the Super Bowl. I've been to every National, and I've been to maybe 5 Super Bowls. Well, I can tell you, going to the National and spending whatever I want to spend at the dollar boxes is still less than going to the Super Bowl. And for me, it's a lot more fun. Because if I'm doing that, if I'm at the National, I don't have to worry about, do I love cards or do I love connecting with collectors? It's both. Or do I love collecting? It's all of that. Or do I love the quest? Which, yes. Or lastly, do I love the completed quest? Which in this completion compulsion is a little awkward. If you have some quest and you complete it, you look up and you're disoriented and say, what's next? Well, in marriage, even though Diane is my completed quest, I delight in trying to keep winning her heart. And maybe there's new aspects of things that I can do with her or for her. And it's the same thing with collecting. I want to be still involved. I don't want to rest on my laurels. I've accomplished some things, but if there's not something new that I want to complete and I want to move in that direction that's positive, well, then that's sad. I want to be happy. I want to be really aggressively pursuing the greatest hobby in the world based on the constraints that I have in my life. I just really enjoy every aspect that I'm involved there. And since I'm retired, I can make some good choices and still be a good husband. So Diane, I love you. And hobby, I love you too. And it's not even in that order, in the sense that Diane has no competition, but the hobby has no competition either for my favorite pastime in that sense. So thanks, everybody, and I'll be back on Monday with another regular episode. This was Aspects of Love, comparing love and Valentine's Day to the hobby. So have a great day to day.